With you we can't lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, we lift our hands. We lift our voice. We celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can't lose, we always win, you're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can't lose, we always win, you're our champion. Oh, we lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can't lose, we always win, you're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can't lose, we always win, you're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can't lose, we always win, you're our champion. Oh, we lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah We always win. You're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can't lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome one. There's none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can't lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can't lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, we lift our hands. We lift our voice. We celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can't lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is worthy, worthy. For he is great. Yes, he is great. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. In your arms, I feel Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. I will baruch your name. 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 my soul and all that is within me. I will Baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul and all that is within me. I will Baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul and all that is within me. I will Baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul and all that is within me. I will Baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul and all that is within me. I will Baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul and all that is within me. I will Baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul and all that is within me. I will Baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul and all that is within me. I will Baruch your name. 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 This is the day that Yahuwah has made, and we shall rejoice and be thankful. And this is the yom that Yahuwah has made, and we shall Baruch him and be thankful. Glad to be back in this place once again to celebrate and commemorate our time of Shabbat, as this is our pre-Shabbat service. I want to say we had a phenomenal time during the feast. The feast of trumpets, the feast of Yom Kippur, the feast of tabernacles. We had a phenomenal time in each one of these feasts, and now we're back here to celebrate with you and you in a time of Shabbat, a time of rest, a time of commemoration and celebration. I know around this time, many of us are getting ready to prepare for bed, and we prepare for our Sabbath, and we're just making ready for the day at hand. So on tonight, as we do customary here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Great Belief Ministries, where we have a time where we baruch the Torah, excuse me, where we come to you with song and praise, and also with the Torah, the instructions for our lives. So on tonight, we're going to begin with the baruch of the Torah, and then we're going to go into the reading of the Ten Commandments. Once again, I pray that Yahuwah baruched you during the time of the feast, and that he has imparted into you in our new year, that he has imparted into you wisdom, and he has imparted into you strength and encouragement to lead us and guide us throughout the year. Once again, just here to encourage your hearts in this, our pre-Sabbath class. Yes, it is a day of preparation, but for many of us that are through with our preparation and we're ready to prepare for bed, sometimes you just want that little extra boost, or you just want to fellowship and commune with the people, or with the mishpach, that opportunity to fellowship with us on tonight. So on tonight, once again, we're going to begin with the baruch of the Torah. Repeat with me. Baruch Yahuwah.
Baruch Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch one.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch one.
For all eternity.
For all eternity.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
And gave us his Torah.
And gave us his Torah.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Giver of the Torah.
Giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
And implanted eternal life within us.
And implanted eternal life within us.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Giver of the Torah.
Giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Now we have the reading of the Ten Commandments done by Apostle Mattathias. And it is so.
And it is so.
Adam, I am Yahuwah your power, which brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim from the days of slavery. Bet you shall have no other power before me. You shall not make you any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in Shemayim above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the mind beneath the earth. You shall not bow down yourself unto them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah your power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that are hot me and keep my commandments. Gimel, you shall not take the name of Yahuwah your power and falsify it, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that takes his name and empties it. Dalet, guard the Sabbath day to set it apart, as Yahuwah your power has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah your power. In it you shall not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your ox, nor your ass, nor any of your cattle, nor your foreigner that is within your gates, that your manservant and your maidservant may rest as well as you. And remember that you were a servant in the land of Mitzrayim, and that Yahuwah your power brought you out of there through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore Yahuwah your power commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. Hey, esteem your Abba and your Ima as Yahuwah your power has commanded you, that your days may be prolonged and that it may go well with you in the land which Yahuwah your power is about to give you. Why? You shall not murder. Zain, neither shall you commit adultery. Het, neither shall you steal. Tet, neither shall you bear false witness against your neighbor. You, neither shall you desire your neighbor's Isha, neither shall you cover your neighbor's bed, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is your neighbor's. These words Yahuwah spoke unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me. And it is so.
And it is so. And it is so. Now let us turn our attention to the book of Devarim, or the scroll of Devarim, chapter 6, verses 1 through 18. These are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which Yahuwah your power commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land where you are going to enter and possess it, that you might fear Yahuwah your power to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command you, you and your son and your grandson, all the days of your life, and that your days may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Yasharal, and observe to do, that it may be well with you, and you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah power of your Abbas has promised you in the land that flows with milk and honey. Shema Yisrael, Yahuwah is our power, Yahuwah is Akkad. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah our supreme one, Yahuwah is Akkad. And you shall ahab Yahuwah your supreme one with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. To fall, to bind to the mind. To bind to the mind. And you shall write them upon the posts of your bed and on your gates. And it shall be when Yahuwah your power shall have brought you into the land which he swore unto your Abbas, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Yaakov, to give you great cities which you did not build, houses full of all great things that you did not build, and wells dug which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant. When you shall have eaten and be full, then beware lest you forget Yahuwah which brought you forth out of the land of Mitzrayim, from the bed of slavery. You shall fear Yahuwah your power and serve him, and shall swear by his name. You shall not go after the power of the people which are round about you. Verse 15. For Yahuwah your power is a jealous power, among you, lest the anger of Yahuwah your power be kindled against you, and he destroy you from off the face of the earth. You shall not tempt Yahuwah your power as you tempted him in Massah. You shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahuwah your power and his testimonies and his statutes which he has commanded you. And you shall do that which is right in the sight of Yahuwah, that it may be well with you, and that you may go in and possess the great land which Yahuwah swore unto your Abbas. And it is so. And it is so. Let us have another song, please.
Create in me a clean heart and purify me. Create in me a clean heart so that I may worship
purify me, create in me a clean heart so that I may worship you. Create in me a clean heart and purify me. Create in me a clean heart so that I may worship you. Create in me a clean heart and purify me. Create in me a clean heart so that I may worship you. Create in me a clean heart and purify me. Create in me a clean heart so that I may worship you. Create in me a clean heart and purify me. Create in me a clean heart so that I may worship you. Create in me a clean heart and purify me. Create in me a clean heart so that I may worship you. Come on, praise Him, praise Him, Worthy. He's worthy of all praise, worthy of all esteem. Hallelujah. As we praise Him for so many great things, for so many things that He has bestowed upon us. One, life, and that more abundantly. Truth, which is the greatest thing that we could ever have had bestowed upon us, and that is to know His truth, His unadulterated truth for our lives. As we stand before you once again this night, Mishley 15:8, the sacrifices of the wicked is an abomination, hateful and exceedingly offensive unto you, Abba Yahuwah, but the prayer of the upright, it is your delight. How many of you want to truly be a delight unto Abba Yahuwah?
Yes.
And it is so. Tehillim 1:1, Baruch is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the unrighteous, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the instructions of Abba Yahuwah, and he doth meditate upon it, and it is so.
And it is so.
Ibram 11:6, but without belief it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Yahuwah must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him, and it is so.
And it is so.
Tehillim 34:15, the eyes of Yahuwah are upon the upright, and his ears are open unto our cry. Verse 17, the upright cry, and Yahuwah heareth and delivereth them out of all their troubles. Masa 1:8, but we shall receive power after that the Ruach HaKodesh is come upon us, and we shall be witnesses unto him both in Jerusalem and all Judea and Shamar and unto the uttermost part of the earth, and it is so.
And it is so.
Ayah 33:4, the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. Somebody say he's a life giver.
He's a life giver.
Yes, he is. He is a life giver. Micah 3:8, but truly I am full of power by the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah, and of judgment and of might to declare unto Yaakov his transgression, and to Yasharal his sin. And it is so.
And it is so.
Yehukanan, Aleph 5:4-5. For whatsoever is born of Yahuwah overcometh the world, and this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our belief. Who is he that overcometh the world? But he that believeth that Yahush is the son of Yahuwah. Yehukanan Aleph 2:5-6. For whoever keeps his Torah, truly the Ahab of Yahuwah is perfected in him. By this we know that we are in him. He who says he abides in him ought himself also to walk, just as he walked. Verse 17. And the world passes away in the lust thereof, but he that doeth the will of Yahuwah abideth forever. Somebody say abideth forever.
Abideth forever.
Say it again, abideth forever.
Abideth forever.
And it is so.
And it is so.
So we have no need to get all uptight and be afraid of the things of this world, because we know that the system of this world is going to soon come to an end. But as long as we put our hope and our trust in Yahuwah, through Yahush our Mashiach, we don't have to worry about that. Now, that's not saying that trials will not come, because they are going to come, and our belief is going to be tested. But I am fully persuaded that he is not going to put more on us than we can bear.
That's right.
And that's scripture. He will not put any more on us than we can bear. So let us remain encouraged and continue to keep our heads up and remain steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in his work, knowing that our labor in him is not in vain. Very important for us to understand. As we have come to this portion, it is now time for us to do our declaration. And then from our declaration, our affirmation, something that Yahuwah gave me during the time of the feast, so that we could have something to meditate on, and not just meditate on, but confess. I know we confess the writings daily. We're supposed to, because we confess Yahush, the son of Nun, chapter 1, verse 7 and 8. We are supposed to keep these things upon our heart, and we're supposed to maintain a lifestyle and a consistency of the writings before us. And so this is our declaration. We declare this every pre-Sabbath, every Sabbath, and every time we have class. Why? Because we want it to become a part of our lifestyle. We want it to become a part of us. One of the number one things that the enemy fights us with, and that is division. He fights us with division. He fights us, even many of us, with sickness. But the number one thing that he desires to do is to keep us at odds and keep us separated.
Right.
So we not only do we pray, but we also declare it in the Shemayim, and we declare it in the atmosphere, our declaration of shalom and healing. Repeat with me, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
in the name of Yahush,
in the name of Yahush,
our Mashiach,
our Mashiach,
we subdue ignorance
we subdue ignorance
with Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge,
And through this knowledge
and through this knowledge
of Torah truth,
of Torah truth,
we claim healing,
we claim healing,
shalom,
shalom,
deliverance,
deliverance,
and salvation.
and salvation.
We decree
We decree
Torah truth
Torah truth
in the lives
in the lives
of your people,
of your people,
our people,
our people,
Yasharal.
Yasharal.
We unite
We unite
not to fight,
not to fight,
not to fight
not to fight
each other,
each other,
each other,
each other,
but the enemy
but the enemy
of our belief.
of our belief.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. As we have come to this time in this portion, we're going to prepare to do our affirmation. But before we do our affirmation, we want to do Yahush, the son of Nun, chapter 1, verse 7, and we're going to confess verse 8. It is a part of our regimen and a part of our daily routine, and it is not something that we just repeat just to be repeating, but this is the desire of our hearts. This is the desire of my heart, and it is so.
And it is so.
Verse 7, only be you strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the Torah which Moshe, my servant, commanded you. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may prosper wherever you go. Verse 8, as I have tailored it to fit our time of confession. I didn't change it, I just tailored it. Repeat with me. I will not let this scroll of the Torah
I will not let the scroll of the Torah
depart out of my mouth,
depart out of my mouth,
but I shall meditate in it
but I shall meditate in it
day and night,
day and night,
that I may observe to do
that I may observe to do
according to all that is written in it.
according to all that is written in it.
For then I shall make my way prosperous,
But then I shall make my way prosperous,
and act wisely,
and act wisely,
and act wisely.
and act wisely.
Now look at your neighbor, tell your neighbor, and you shall act wisely.
And you shall act wisely.
Look at your other neighbor and tell your other neighbor, and you shall act wisely.
And you shall act wisely.
Now take your hand and place it over your heart and say, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
Come on, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
I endeavor
I endeavor
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
I endeavor
I endeavor
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
Come on, I endeavor
I endeavor
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Every day of our lives, we ought to endeavor to act wisely, regardless of how many stupid people we come across. That's right, I said stupid people. No matter how many ignorant people we come across, no matter how many people we come across, it is important that we maintain our stand in our set apartness by acting wisely.
Yes.
You don't have to engage in other people's, for lack of a better word, stupidity. There are times that you just have to walk away, and then there are times you have to just study to be quiet. And I'm not just talking about women, because men have a tendency too sometimes to say things out of their mouths and continually keep going when we are commanded sometimes to just be quiet.
Yes.
We have the example, Yahush was quiet when he was presented before the council. When they were accusing him, he remained quiet. So there are times that we have to study to be quiet, regardless of how it may touch us in certain areas of our lives, especially if we know we were people when we were outside of truth. Ones it's like, nope, you ain't gonna have the last word. I'm gonna get that last word in. Sometimes you have to just kind of walk away and just leave it be and remain set apart. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. All right, as we prepare for our affirmations, repeat with me. It's nothing crazy. It's just something to help us to continue to build our belief and keep us on a maintenance schedule. I like to say to keep our ruach and keep us as a people maintained and always keep us focused on what's most important, and that is building our belief in the Torah. And when I say the Torah, many times people misunderstand when I say the Torah, meaning thinking that we're only Torah believers and we believe no further than that. I believe in the prophets, and I believe in the renewed covenant.
Right.
Because without the Torah, there would be no renewed covenant. And so when I say Torah, I am talking about it inclusive. I'm talking about the prophets and the Brit Hadashah, all in the Torah, because it's all based upon the Torah.
Right.
So that's why when I say we are Torah believers and we need the Torah, I am talking about everything that Yahuwah gave unto us, the judges, the prophets, and so forth. So it's important that we understand that nothing that he's given unto us is evil or bad. And so with the understanding that Torah helped build and is the foundation for it all. So when we say Torah, you understand we're talking about all of it, the complete entirety of the writings given unto us. So with that being said, we're going to say our affirmations. Repeat with me. I purpose to develop my ruach.
I purpose to develop my ruach.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I
am
am
Ibrahim.
I am born again.
I am born again.
I am Ibrahim.
I am Ibrahim.
I have the life and nature
I have the life and nature
of Yahuwah in my ruach.
of Yahuwah in my ruach.
That life is the Torah of Yasharal.
That life is the Torah of Yasharal.
I purpose to walk in the Torah of life.
I purpose to walk in the Torah of life.
Yahuwah's Torah,
Yahuwah's Torah.
Yahush,
Yahush
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's knowledge
Yahuwah's knowledge
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's ahab
Yahuwah's ahab
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's power
Yahuwah's power
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's wisdom
Yahuwah's wisdom
is in me.
is in me.
He is teaching me.
He is teaching me.
He is leading me.
He is leading me.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
The Ruach Kodesh
The Ruach Kodesh
of Yahuwah
of Yahuwah
in me is leading me.
in me is leading me.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll follow his leading.
I'll walk in the Torah.
I'll walk in the Torah.
Yahush,
Yahush,
our Mashiach.
our Mashiach.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Now, as we prepare to seal our praise, our prayer, our worship, and even our confession, let us bow before our King and let us recite this together. Repeat with me. May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my Ra,
my rock
and my Redeemer.
and my Redeemer.
May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my Ra,
my rock
and my Redeemer.
and my Redeemer.
And it is so.
And it is so.
We have just recited Tehillim 19 and 15, which in the English is Psalms 19 and 15. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. You may be seated in his presence as we go into the writings. Once again, in this our, what I like to call our pre-Sabbath, also the day of preparation. As I said early on, many are already finished with their preparation, I hope, and making ready. If you're not already, some are already going to sleep and some are already in the bed. And some are just cruising social media, just trying to see what's going on. So if that is you, I am thankful that you have decided to spend a portion of your time of preparation with us, as this is a time of class for us. It is a time that we go over the Torah portions to prepare us. So as we prepare to take our rest and prepare for our Shabbat rest on Yom, we like to, before we close our eyes, have the Torah fresh in our hearts and in our minds. And so I want you to turn your attention to the book of Devarim, chapter 3, as we have a regimen that we follow, something that I truly have, because every year we go through it, we learn something different. You cannot convince me, no matter how anyone would ever try, that when you read the writings, you can read it over and over again. And this is our third or fourth year of going through the Torah portions. And every time we go through it, Yahuwah reveals something else unto us every time we go through it. And so it is important that we understand it never gets stale and it never gets old. And he's always ready and willing to give us revelations concerning the writings, but we have to be in the right place. And what I say about that, we have to be in the right ruach, and then we have to be in the right frame of mind. Because let me tell you something, there are some revelations in the writings that if you're not ready for it, it'll knock you over. It'll knock you and send you for a loop. But I'm fully persuaded that Yahuwah is able to ground us through Yahush, our Mashiach, if we're willing and we're ready to learn. And that's what he wants us to do. So on tonight, we're going to look at our theme, as we always do. We have a theme for every Sabbath class. And this time, as we're in the final book of the Torah, and these are weekly readings, we are in, it is Wait Kanan. And it means, and I pleaded. So we're going to look at chapter 3, and we're going to start at verse 23, and we're going to see who is speaking at this time. Many of us already know at this time who is speaking. And so we want to dive right into the Torah portions. Once again, it is Wait Kanan, and it means, and I pleaded. And our scripture verse is coming from Devarim chapter 3, verses 23. And we're going to read 8 verses. So let us begin, please, at verse 23. And it is so.
And it is so. Devarim chapter 3, starting at verse 23. At that time, I pleaded with Yahuwah, O sovereign power, you have begun to show your servant your greatness and your strong hand. What power is there in Shemayim or on earth who can do the deeds and mighty works you do? Let me go over and see the great land beyond the Yarden, that fine hill country and Lebanon. But because of you, Yahuwah was angry with me and would not listen. That is enough, Yahuwah said. Do not speak to me anymore about this matter. Go up to the top of Pisgah and look west and north and south and east. Look at the land with your own eyes, since you are not going to cross this Yarden. But commission Yahush and encourage and strengthen him, for he will lead his people across and will cause them to inherit the land that you will see. So we stayed in the valley near Peor. Hear now, O Yahshua, the decrees and commands I am about to teach you. Follow this so that you may live and that you may go in and take possession of the land that you or your power of your office is giving. Do not add what I command you, and do not subtract from it, but keep the commands of Yahuwah your power that I give you. You saw with your own eyes what Yahuwah did at Baal Peor. Yahuwah your power restored from among you everyone who followed Baal of Peor. But all of you who held fast to Yahuwah your power are still alive today. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, very important for us to look at this. I besought Yahuwah. The verb is perfect. I have previously prayed. Moshe had offered the prayer to be allowed to enter the promised land before he charged Yahush, the son of Nun, with the task of leadership. He didn't want to have to stay behind. after walking and going through all that, he didn't want to. But let me tell you something. You can't afford to allow people to get you out of character. This is a great example, sad though it is still a great example of how people can cause you to miss out with Yahuwah if you don't keep yourself grounded. They complained, and when Yahuwah told Moshe to go in and basically tap the rock, he went in and smoked the rock. And not only that, but he added words to it as if it was him that was bringing forth this deed. And Yahuwah got him, and not only him, but he also dealt with Haran behind these actions. So you have to be careful. You can't allow people to take you out of the character of Yahuwah and think that you won't lose out. This is why we have to be careful and not let people get to us to the point that now we act out and we can't see what Yahuwah has for us because we're going to miss it. Now he prayed, but Yahuwah told him no. And so that was a done deal. At that time, after Moshe had taken the lands of Sihon and Og, and after he had made plans for the allocation of the Kadesh land to the tribes. Now, after doing all that, surely you know he wasn't ready to give up that. He wasn't ready. But once again, you have to understand there are consequences to our actions. You can't expect to do something and not pay the penalty for it. If you do the crime, you're going to do the time. And so it is important that we understand that. If we want to see the Baruch of Yahuwah upon our lives, it is important that we follow his instructions. Now listen what he tells them. He says, O Yahuwah, the phrase denotes merciful Savior. Even if justice demanded that he should be excluded from the Kadesh land, Moshe appealed to the merciful Savior to appeal the sentence. Now thou hast begun to show thy servant. In his supplication, Moshe prayed that he might be granted his wish to enter Canaan and secure its territory as he had done with the lands of Sihon and Og. Once again, it's important that we understand there are consequences to our actions, and we can't afford to allow people, now understand, we can't afford to allow people to cause us to mess up in this our time of trying.
That's right.
Because you have to understand the enemy desires nothing more than to have us to be to end up losing out and be we end up not defecting, but we end up losing out and we end up being disqualified because of our actions. We've come too far and we've traveled too long to get to this place in Yahuwah to be disqualified.
That's right.
And to be basically to be put out, because now understand, did show him mercy, but the mercy he wanted to be shown him could not be shown because of his actions.
Right.
Pisgah, identical with the valley of Moab, and behold with thine eyes. This was granted to Moshe in fulfillment of his supplication. Let me see the great land. And he was able to see it, but he was unable to go in and possess it or to be able to be a partaker of it. Once again, that's just like seeing the gift before you, but you can't get it. You can't get it. Why? Because you disqualified yourself because of your actions. Encourage him and strengthen him by means of words that he has the divine assurance of success. Now, so we abode in the valley. That is, we had abode in the valley, and from there they proceeded to the plains of Moab. And now, O Yasharal, having concluded his words of reproach and pointed out that their Abbas, as well as he, had forfeited their right of entering the Kadesh land on account of their sins, Moshe turned now to the people with the assurance that they were destined to take possession of the land, on condition that they remain committed to Yahuwah and his Torah. Committed to him and his Torah, which is one of the things that many people I really see, and I've said it before, if you've seen any of my early teachings, I am not a problematic teacher or preacher, but I do believe in pointing out things that are necessary to be pointed out. One of the things that we fail to be committed to, and that is his instructions. Right. What do I mean by that? When it comes down to keeping the feast, we find every excuse for why we cannot keep the feast. If it's keeping the Shabbat, we find every reason why we can't keep the Shabbat. If it is ahabing our neighbor, we find every excuse for why we can't do it. There are some things that we have just learned to make excuses for. And so with that being said, when we don't keep the Torah, we forfeit and we cause ourselves to be disqualified from seeing all that Abba Yahuwah would have for us.
Right.
I don't want to see the great things that he's doing and then not be a participant or a partaker of those great things because of my actions right here and now.
Right.
Whatever we do now, believe it or not, is adding up. And it's going to be counted, be brought forward in our future and even in our present state. So it's important that we understand. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important that we understand these things so that we will not end up doing the same thing that our ancestors and forefathers did. Are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
Hearken unto the statutes. Moshe began to this section of precepts with the law concerning idolatry. Because at the time they dwelt opposite Beth Peor. Ye shall not add, diminish, both addition to and subtraction from the word of Yahuwah. It's divine purpose. Do not take from it, do not add to it. And this is another thing that is so important. When in doubt, pray it out.
That's right.
Seek him through the scriptures. That's what he gave us the writings for, to seek him out. To know that what we're doing is right or wrong.
Right.
Very important for us to understand. And so it's important that we don't add and we don't take away. And if you know somebody that's doing that, then the thing of it is to bring correction. Bring correction in the right manner. You don't have to beat them up and destroy them. Bring the correction. Don't add to it, and definitely do not take away from it. Your eyes have seen. Moshe recalled the fact that all who followed Baal Peor had perished, and they who remained committed to Yahuwah were still alive. This testified to his teaching that obedience to Yahuwah's law means life. Same as it was then, same today.
Right.
If we want to have life, we have to be in complete obedience and compliance to his law for our lives. You can't be vacillating. You can't be in and out. One of the things that, as we were at home on the land, taking care of, getting it ready, still getting it prepped, but we were able to do some things. The storm had come through, knocked some things down, about tore up our tent, so we had to fix it. We had a lot of preparing that we had to do before the feast, but we still kept the feast. We had a lot of cleaning up, and we're still cleaning up. But one of the things that for sure is that if you want to have life, you're going to have to walk in his instructions,
Right.
which is his law. If we do not do that, we will not be able to see the great things of Yahuwah. Neither will we be able to live. It's just important. We cannot continue to make excuses. Well, I really didn't know. Well, get with somebody that does know. But don't let that be your reason for missing out because you yourself don't know. Now you have just committed a trespass against Yahuwah because you have not kept his commandments, his statutes, and neither have you kept his laws.
Right.
It's important that we understand that. Don't allow an excuse to get you out of his mercy and placed in the and you end up being placed on the list of forfeiting the things that Yahuwah has for us as a people.
Right.
I have taught you, having urged Yasharal to obey the statutes and ordinances, which he said he was teaching them. Moshe now added that those precepts were not his own, but Yahuwah's, and that these divine commandments should form the basis of their life in their national homeland. If we are going to truly be able to see the hand of Yahuwah, it is important that we live by the commandments and live by the statutes and the ordinances that Abba Yahuwah has given unto us, even in the land of our enemies.
Right.
If we can live it here in the land of our enemies, surely we'll be able to live it in our national homeland.
Right.
It's important for us to understand, and this is not a dress rehearsal. This is the real deal. This is the real thing. And it's important that we understand. Many of us receive what was it, the national phone call alert, and many people were kind of distraught behind it, and many people were, like, well, it's just another thing. Then some of us were like, well, it is what it is, and you're going to still get the victory, and you're going to protect us because that's what you promised us that you would do. Now, if we are having issues and we're scared, the question is why? The question is why? Because if he is the giver of life, and we know he is, and he is our protector, and we are living according to his instructions for our lives, then why should we be fretting anything that comes remotely?
That's right.
Because he promised to take care of us, and we know he is not a what? Liar. He is not a liar. So he's going to take care of us because we are living and operating in and over, are you following me?
Yes.
His instructions for our lives. We have given it the oversight, we have given it the overview of our lives over to his instructions. And so we have no reason to fear and fret ourselves because of these things. Be aware, absolutely. Be prepared, absolutely. But be afraid, not so.
That's right.
Not so. And it is so.
And it is so.
All right, let us finish reading in chapter 4, please.
Chapter 4.
Mm-hmm. Verse 3. Chapter 4.
Chapter 4.
Mhm.
Is it verse 3?
Mm-hmm.
How many verses?
8.
From 30 years old and above, even to 50 years old.
Mm-mm. Yep, the Midbar, chapter 4. The bitter. I'm sorry. So sorry. The bitter. Thank you. The bitter, chapter 4. I'm sorry, not the Midbar. The bitter, chapter 4.
And it is so. Verse 3.
Mm-hmm.
Your eyes have seen what Yahuwah did at Baal Peor. For Yahuwah your power has destroyed from your midst all the men who follow Baal Peor. But you who are clinging to Yahuwah your power are alive today, every one of you. See, I have taught you laws and right rulings, as Yahuwah your power commanded me, to do thus in the land which you go to possess.
Mm-hmm.
You shall guard and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding before the eyes of the people who hear all these laws. And they shall say, only a wise and understanding people is this great nation.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 7. For what great nation is there which has power so near to it, as Yahuwah our power is to us, whenever we call on him? And what great nation is there that has such laws and righteous ruling, like all this Torah which I set before you this day? Only guard yourself and guard your life diligently, lest you forget the words your eyes have seen, unless they turn aside from your heart all the days of your life. And you shall make them known to your children and to your grandchildren. The day when you stood before Yahuwah your power in Horeb, Yahuwah said to me, assemble the people to me, and I make them hear my words, so that they learn to fear me all the days they live on the earth, and teach them to their children. And you came near and stood at the foot of the mountain, and the mountain to the heart of the heavens, or Shemaim, darkens out in thick darkness. And it is so.
And it is so. Now he's giving them once again his discourse. This is basically his I don't want to say farewell speech, but this is his, once again, to affirm them and to reiterate everything that they've already gone over, so that they will know without a shadow of a doubt what it is that they are commissioned and called to do, so that they won't find themselves once again following in the footsteps of their fathers and their grandfathers, and that they will live the life, and that they will be a people among the nations that will see them, and they will say that they are a wise people. This is why it's important for us that we do exactly as he's commissioned us. You know, one of the things that I found, once again, when you go on social media, if you want to see who's together and who's divided, just start looking at some of the communities. Just go into communities and look. We have so much going on. And because we have so much going on, it's easy for people to look at us and say, how are they a people of wisdom, when every time something is posted, especially if it's something that we may disagree about, boy, you have people on it like piranhas on meat in the water. Right. And one thing I've learned is just because you disagree with something doesn't mean that you always have to jump on it and have something to say. Because you're disagreeing with it doesn't mean it's wrong. Right. That's the thing. If it's wrong, that's one thing. But let's be able to discern and be able to know if it is wrong or if it is just us, because it is something that made us disgruntled because we don't like it. That's right. That's another thing that's important for us to understand. Just because I may not agree with something and don't like it, doesn't mean that I'm right. It just could mean that I just don't like that. And then we have to admit, if we're not in that position to understand that, then don't go jumping in there trying to bring something you're not ready to tackle. That's right. It's important that we understand that. Now, once again, he is reiterating and showing them how to keep themselves as they're making preparation to go into the land. This is your wisdom. The people, Yasharal, will be respected by the people of the world if they practice the Torah with the full understanding or overstanding of its ideas. We have to practice it with the full overstanding of it. Mm-hmm. It's important that we do this. If we're just doing something just because we are trying to do it, that's just like when we play basketball, throwing up Hail Marys, you hoping it'll go in. No, when you know you have the skill and you got what it takes, you know it's going in. You may have some of them days where you may be off, but of a surety, you know when you get up there, you're going to hit it. 95% of the time, you're going to get it in there. Because you understand and you have that confidence. No matter what goal you're at, no matter what gym you're in, you know you're going to hit it. That's the same way we're supposed to have when we are esteeming and when we are following the Torah. It is supposed to be with such great confidence that when people see us, they know us because by the way we carry ourselves. Right. People ought to know you when you go into the store. They ought to be able to look at you and say, something's different about them. Something about their lives. Because we carry ourselves in a totally different manner than everybody else. Right. He said, now, you've got to keep the Torah. Now, once again, with that being said, we can't afford to be fighting one another over it. Because when we fight over it, that's when people look at us and say, I don't know if they're lions or are they hyenas. Because they're just fighting over everything. Right. If we are truly lions and lionesses, then we ought to come to a position and place in our lives and we're mature enough to say, right now, I'm not going to touch that. I'm not going to touch that right now, but I am going to pray about that because right now, it's too much going on. And nobody's really going to listen to reason, especially when your heads and people's tempers are boiling. Right. So nobody's really going to be listening to reason. Everybody's going to be trying to throw their point across. This is why we can never do anything when we're angry. This is why we can never do anything when we are disgruntled. Sometimes you have to step away from a thing and wait till the Ruach Kodesh gives you the release to say something or even to engage. Every fight is not our fight. So it's important that we understand that. Am I making sense tonight?
Yes.
Or this Layla? Only take heed to thyself After exhorting the people to observe all of Yahuwah's commandments, Moshe continued to impress upon them that they should never forget the awesome event at Mount Sinai, where amidst thunder and lightning they received those commandments. They should bear in mind the fact that Yahuwah directly, and not through a mediator, revealed his will to Yasharal, and no seer or dreamer can ever shake the authority of the Torah. This is important that we understand. Is he going against the prophets? No. He is just reminding them of that day, of where they heard it. But remember, they shrunk back. They shrunk back because they were afraid, because they were like, oh no, that his voice is just, we're too afraid to listen. Why? Because they had sin in their hearts.
That's right.
That's why they didn't want to really listen. Now listen, all the days that they lived upon the earth, the complete realization of Yahuwah's law is not possible. In that the diaspora under foreign rule. Now let me read this, and I'm going to come back and explain this. Only as free men on their soil can Yasharal live a full religious life. Now the reason why I read that, and y'all know why I read stuff, because I also turn around and I clarified. Thank you. I clarified, and I also bring to the forefront why a lot of us have the misconception that we have because of some of the authors and some of the stuff that we believe. Right. Now, there are things that I believe, and there are things that I utilize, and everything that they put in what I have, I don't agree with. Now, with that being said, and the reason why I say that is because he said, in all of your dwellings, right, we are to keep the feast. He said, no matter where we are, we ought to keep his instructions, not just in the homeland. But when we read and we hear these things without an understanding, and sometimes from a person's own perspective, they will put stuff out there and they will make you believe that you can't keep it. It's amazing that people can keep any kind of holiday or whatever you want to call it, no matter where they are. But when it comes down to us living the way we're supposed to live, we find every excuse for why we cannot. Now, once again, he said, all the days that they live upon the earth, a complete realization of Yahuwah's law is not possible. A lie. It is possible. It is possible. Why? Because when Yahuwah came and gave his life and was the atonement for our sins, it was that time when we accepted him that the realization of who we are and what our purpose is was made known. So how am I going to know who I am and how I'm supposed to live, but then know all this and still be limited to following his instructions? That is a blatant lie. Right. Are you hearing me? Yes. That is a blatant lie. And once again, it is important that we uncover these lies. It is important that these things be brought out, so that we as a people won't sit back and make excuses. You have many people that will not keep the feast because we're not in the homeland. That's right. Once again, he said in all your dwellings. That didn't mean just in the homeland. So once again, our assignment as well is to uncover and to clarify, and not only clarify, but to dismantle every lie that has been placed out there that tries to forbid us from acknowledging, and not just acknowledging with our mouths, but even with our actions, who we are. That's right. This is important for us to understand. Never ever accept somebody telling you it is not possible, because that's a lie. It is very possible. Very possible for us to do everything that he said for us to do. Are y'all following me? Yes. Very important for us to do so. Now, once again, it is important that we understand and that we hear the Ruach Kodesh and not allow, once again, anybody to shake us from our belief and shake us from truth. You're going to have people that come up and say there's a lot of things that are floating out there that will cause many of us to believe many of things. But the realization of it is, where is your heart? If you're in it because you truly are Yahuwah, then you're going to do what he has commissioned and commanded us to do. And it is so. It is so. Once again, and it is so. All right, let us read.
unto you, which he commandments, and he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone.
Read that again.
And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments. And he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone.
Now, hold that thought. Now, he gave it to them to live for when? Just only when they were in the promised land? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It is for us throughout our lives and our generations. The reason why our people ended up being scattered is because they failed to walk in compliance and obedience to his instructions. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand that. Once again, never let anybody shake your foundation and shake your belief in believing that you're supposed to live according to his instructions here in the land of our enemies. Very important that we understand that. All right, let's read. Finish reading.
And Yahuwah commanded me at the time to teach your statutes and judgments, that you might do them in the land, whether you go over to possess it. Take you therefore great heed unto yourselves, for you saw no manner of similitude on the day that Yahuwah spake unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire. Lest you corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. And lest thou lift up thine eyes up to Shemaim, and when you see the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the hosts of Shemaim, should be driven to worship them and serve them. With Yahuwah thy Savior hath divided unto all nations unto the whole Shemaim. And it is so.
And it is so. Once again, he gave them instructions not to fall into the sins of their forefathers and their ancestors, making graven images and following into all that. He said, don't fall into that. You saw what was done. You know, you've experienced the power of Yahuwah. This is important for us. We've experienced his life-changing power through Yahushua HaMashiach. We could say, as even the blind man said, I was once blind, but now I see. We were blinded because of the erroneous and false teachings that we received, passed down from generations to generations. And so now that our eyes are open and that we, understand what it is that we are supposed to do, then we are supposed to fall into that. Once you come out of the system of Christianity or whatever system that once had you bound and not in truth, once you come out of that, it is now for you and for me to walk in full compliance and obedience to his instructions. For there is no other way for us to live. You don't get in a car and just drive it without instructions. We've been given instructions on how to live. Now it is up to us to live according to his instructions that he's given unto us. Very important. Once again, never let anyone steal from us what he's given to us. Now that I'm awake and I'm walking in truth, I'm not supposed to just be docile. I'm not just supposed to walk around as the walking dead. I'm alive, but yet I'm still dead because I'm limited. No. What limits us is our belief in what Yahuwah is capable and able to do through Yahushua HaMashiach in our lives.
That's right.
And one thing that I know for sure is that he has awakened us as a people. And it is for us to walk in and walk upright before him. And how do we walk upright before him except we keep his instructions?
That's right.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Under the mountain, that is the foot of the mountain, the heart of Shemaim, in the midst of Shemaim, within sight of the people, only a voice. Only they could hear an audible voice. Even the 10 words. Yahuwah himself proclaimed the 10 commandments to Yasharal out of the fire, which was visible to all the people. So once again, we're able to live during that time. They were, so he was reminded. And that's it. We're to leave it. Just the description shows show him. That is the way we are to leave it. We are never to try to put it in picture form, because now that causes problems. And it is so.
And it is so.
Unto all the people, Yahuwah had tolerated worship of the heavenly bodies in all other nations. But as for Yasharal, he had brought them out of the iron furnace of Mitzrayim and revealed to them the truth from which they must not deviate. Once again, it might be all right for others to do, and other people may be doing it. But as for us, we have to be just like Yahushua, the son of Nun. As for me, house, we shall worship or serve Yahuwah.
That's right.
We're not going to do it, and this is why it is so important for us to maintain the things that I have found and belief booster, not because we gloat off their downfall, but that we look at our ancestors and forefathers. We look at their victories. We look at their defeats. But at the same time, we continue to look at our own lives and make sure that we are not walking as they walk, so that we will not walk in or find ourselves being punished as they were punished because of disobedience.
Right.
One of the things they left for us is a great example on how not to be, and that is disobedient.
Yes.
We are not to be disobedient, but to walk in his truth. For in his truth, we find life, and that more abundantly. Outside of it, you cannot. You know, they're saying, and it still is, what you make of life. What is it? The saying is, life is what you make of it. Life is what you make of it. But I would dare to say, life can only be what you make of it with the right ingredients. And the only right ingredient is the Torah of Yahuwah, right. His instructions for our lives.
Right.
If you want a mess, leave his instructions out. Leave them out. It's just like trying to bake a cake that has instructions for eggs. Leave them eggs out and you're going to see you're going to have a great mess.
Oh, yeah.
But if you really want your life to be made up of something, then you need to incorporate his instructions. I heard a rapper say years ago, life without Yahuwah ain't nothing but a whole lot of hell. And it is the absolute truth. Because without him in our lives, without him guiding us, without him instructing us through Yahushua HaMashiach, we would not be able to live and we would not be able to make it. But I told him for what he's doing, what he's done, and what he's yet going to do for us, his people. Once again, very important that we maintain our consistency in him and allow him to do, allow Yahushua to do what he was granted permission to come and do. And that is to teach us. First of all, he paid the ransom for our sins. And now he's teaching us through the writings. Because remember, he is the Torah made flesh. Very important for us to understand. Once again, just to encourage you on this Layla, a time of preparation. I'm sure everybody is through with their time of preparation and probably ready to, if you have not already prepared yourself for bed. Once again, just wanted to bring a snack there to take our preparation on this Yom preparation. Once again, to encourage you to keep your head up, keep your shoulders squared, and keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah, because you can't go wrong when we continue to allow instructions to be our guide and to be the navigation of our lives. I want you to remember, I am Aleya Yasharal, and I am the leader of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Bread Belief Ministries located in South Carolina. I want you to remember, here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Bread Ministries, this is the place where the Torah does the body excellent. Until next time, may Abba Yahuwah Baruch Atah and keep on until we meet again. Also, I want you to remember that you've been touched by Champion TV, a place, and it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.